Ash sees a wild Pokemon in the grass. Hey, Ash, why don't you go over and take a look? Okay, Professor Oak. Ah, run, run, Ash! Hola, amigos, it's Will here from Will's Custom Figures, coming at you today with a big bad breakdown of probably my favourite trio in all of Pokemon history. Oh my god, I love Bulbasaur, Ivysaur, Venusaur so much. I've been a fan of this for so many years, and God, I've been excited to do this video. So please, guys, sit back and relax while I talk you through why this is my favourite of all the original starter Pokemon and all the details as to how I've made them in between. And here we are, back with you guys. And this is the reason why. Ash Ketchum. Oh my god, I was 10 years old and I saw Ash Ketchum. I did not make this, by the way. This is an actual figure. I'm not sure who it's by. And I fell in love with Pokemon. God, like the 151, the original. Who was the 151st? Oh my god, what's going on? And that is what really got me into Pokemon. And my first ever starter Pokemon was on the Game Boy. And I'm pretty sure, I'm 99% sure that Bulbasaur was my very, very first pick. I just loved him. He was so cool. And then years and years later, when I was an adult, I remember one of my very, very close friends as a kid, Daniel Aston. He completed the Pokedex. Well, and just a couple missed it, but nearly completed it on Pokemon Platinum. So I got myself the old Game Boy. I think it was the 3DS, and I decided to replay the games. And then when I was doing it, I thought, you know what? I've done art for very many years, and I haven't actually done anything to do with clay. I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to see. I'm getting sick of doing all these pictures and just putting them into, a drawer or, displaying them. It looks a little bit vain to display your own pictures on the wall. So I decided to have a go at Bulbasaur. And that is why I'm going to give you a big bag breakdown on Bulbasaur, the very first ever clay Pokemon that I made. So you can probably see it is far from perfect. Let me just bring it up to the camera here. I watched a YouTube tutorial on how to do it. Let me just focus the camera. There we go. And I can't remember what it was called, but if you type in YouTube tutorial, you'll see there's lots of imperfections. It was a very, very cheap clay, and it was all trial and error. And do you know what? I haven't done a bad job. I bought an airbrush. I was really committed to it. And it's always sort of reminded me of like a bit like a bulldog. This is a grass poison type Pokemon. Well, I think Venusaur is in the end. Around about 6 foot tall, about 15, 16 stone. I think it's about 220 pounds. And of course, his counterpart, the first evolution, Bulbasaur, so beautifully designed and created by the Japanese creators. And you can see that it's off balance, the turntable. And it just this Pokemon just means everything to me. You can see I've signed it, my first ever one that I've ever made. And if I made him again now, it would look very similar. I think a lot of the edges, it's a better clay I use now. This was just cheap stuff off eBay, but I use Polymer Super Sculpey clay now. And I think a lot of the finishes I've spent more time getting perfect, but they've all been made the same way. Aluminium in the body, a little bit of armature wire. And then once you're done with all of that kind of stuff, you can then move on to the clay and getting all the details in there. Okay, now the moment you guys are all looking for. And in my opinion, it's better than Venusaur, but we're going to move on to Ivysaur now. Now, just a little quick one. 1999 is the year. I've just worked it out in my head. I would have been 11 years old. Can you see why, when you have such epic characters like this, I was a huge fan of Pokemon. Look at Ivysaur. Oh, I think this is the best executed Pokemon that I have ever made. In my opinion, it's beautiful. And just so you've got a little bit of a size comparison with a comparison of my skill, Bulbasaur was originally done following a tutorial. Now, Charmander was not. So let me just move Ivysaur out of the way a sec. You can see Charmander, smoother edges, a little bit better clay. I use the Polymer Super Sculpey clay here. I have done a full video breakdown on Charmander if any of you guys want to see him. Oops, sorry about that. Really bad camera work here today by me. Trying to stop the turntable in the background from moving. There we go. So look at how smooth the edges are. For me, this was like the creme de la creme of making Pokemon characters, like a little mini dragon. God, once I did this guy, the whole world was at my fingertips, basically. And I know it sounds really cheesy because it is just making clay Pokemon figures. I'm not saving any lives or anything like that. But the same time, I always wanted a hobby where I could demonstrate my skill set to somebody and really show them the different techniques and, you know, how artistic I've been. I've been university and really hadn't enjoyed it, dropped out. And here we go. Here is Ivysaur. And like I say, in my opinion, I think this is sort of like something you would buy from Smith's Toy Store or somewhere like that. I'm so pleased with how it's turned out. Now, there are breaks. You can see here, I've used wire when I made this to wrap it around. And as I mentioned, armature wire for the limbs, for the head, things like that, for the bulb on the top. I always use that. But I've moved house twice since creating this. And there are little scuffs. You can see a little scuff there. No signature. I wanted it to look all smooth, but the comparison of the smoothness of this one versus the Bulbasaur originally, and you can see I've spent a lot of time making sure that bulb was beautiful. There's little brush strokes all over the leaf, and as mentioned, the leaves do move a little bit just because of the years of wear and tear. That front one is still stuck perfectly in place. This one moves a little bit, and this one moves a lot. Unfortunately for Ivysaur. But yeah, just let's have a look at the paintwork actually. You can see that the paints are, compared to Bulbasaur, are all a lot brighter, a lot more bold, a lot more cartoonish. I'm going to move good old Charmander out of the way there. And do you know what? I'm going to move everyone out of the way actually, because now is the moment you've all been waiting for. I'm going to leave Ash just for a bit of a perspective shot there. I'm going to show you Venusaur in all of its beautiful glory. And I'm also going to move the turntable just around a little bit to give you guys a bit of a 360. Like, the effort, the pain, the arduous process that went into creating this figure. I hope you guys like it. That's why I make it. I hope you guys like it. I know one thing, my son loves it. My missus and my daughter all love it. And my family, when they come over and have a look, they're always big fans of the different Pokemon that I've created over the years. Now, I'm just going to move this around, so I'm sorry for shaky hands, but I want you guys to be able to see some of the details. The crown, beautifully painted gold. Same as Ivysaur, all of these have been attached on with wire. You can see some of them have come loose over the years. Sort of like a palm tree, isn't it? A beautiful crown palm tree. And what would you say was? Is he sort of like a frog? He's some kind of amphibian, isn't he? And I'll do a little comparison next to Pichu in a minute. Really just bringing back all the nostalgia feels. All these little warts, they're all 3D, they're not just painted on. Each claw has been made with armature wire. And I've then used clay to go over the top of it. Now, I'm going to put this camera back down. And I'm just going to reposition. And here we are, back with you. Now, this is an important shot for me. As silly as it may sound, holding it so you can see the size and the scale and the weight of this thing. Oh my God, it's so heavy. So here you go. For any customizers that are out there, you can see how I sort of made it. This is a beautiful blue. I can't remember the blue. I think it might be electric blue that I've used. You can see from all the home moves, with it being made from clay, there are little cracks. Can you see that there? So it's really, really important to me to keep these in good condition. The face, oh man, it's got like so many little details, so many little areas of the teeth. And I remember smoothing all these out. And I hadn't made Charizard when I made this. Charizard was a bit too scary for me. But you can see, if I can get the light, there we go. You see underneath the leaves, hopefully. There you go. You can see the armature wire there. I don't mind little things like that. It sort of adds a little bit of, what's the word? Reality and a little bit of, you know, your sort of craftsmanship onto the figure. Now, just before I get this video finished, I don't want to just talk and just babble on for too long, but hopefully you can see the literal evolution in my skills as a sculptor, as a painter. Here's a Meowth who I made a couple of years back. Really, really happy with how Meowth turned out. And Pichu as well, he was very, very important to me because I'd made a Pikachu as one of my first Pokemon. It looked absolutely terrible. So I really wanted to try and like hone all of my skills and create a couple of the characters that I absolutely love. Let's put him over here, back, before I bring the video to a little bit of a close. There we are, Bulbasaur. And let's move Pikachu. You can go here, and we'll put Ivysaur in the background there. So hopefully you guys like this set. I have put many hours of love. This is not for a commission like a lot of the stuff you see me do on my page. This is absolutely me being selfish and creating something that I want to keep for myself for the rest of my life. Now, will I make, like I did with Pikachu, a better version of Pikachu, or a better version of Bulbasaur, or a better version of Ivysaur or Venusaur? I think maybe Bulbasaur, but with Ivysaur, Venusaur, I'm pretty sure they are to stay exactly how they are. And as mentioned, if anybody is interested, I've mentored a few people over the years in how to create either Pokemon, wrestling figures, whatever it may be. I'm a bit of a geek and I love all my hobbies more than anything in the world. More than happy to give a tutorial. Just reach out to me. And it all starts, as mentioned, armature foil in the centre. You then use masking tape to tape everything up. And then it's a case of putting around the aluminium foil and the tape that you've put around it, the masking tape. So the case of putting the armature wire all around it and creating all the limbs. And then slowly but surely, this was not made in one sculpt using clay. This was probably 5 or 6 different sculpts, because what I do is I use, as I mentioned earlier, super sculpey clay. I'll then fire it and cook it in my oven. Make sure maybe the base, just the overall shape is done. And then I've got hard surfaces to push up against. What I did with Bulbasaur, you can see all the little, mistakes and scuff marks and things, is I did it all in one go. And that really isn't how I like to sculpt. I think Pikachu was about 3 different firings in the oven before I got into getting all the details, like these beautiful ears and the tail and everything else. So Venusaur was about 5 or 6, I think. Either way, guys, hopefully you've enjoyed these comparisons. Hopefully you've enjoyed this 12-minute video. Unfortunately, there are a few little dinks and bits of damage because of moving home over the years. But for me, nostalgia, the interesting fact, Rafflesia flower is the flower that, as you can see, is a bulb. Oh, it's opening. Boom, it's opened. And there you go, guys. That is my review of Venusaur, Ivysaur and Bulbasaur. I hope you've liked it. My rating, if I was rating this work, I'd probably give Bulbasaur about a 5 out of 10. Ivysaur, for me, I'd probably put it as around about a 9 out of 10. And Venusaur, just because some of the damage and the little things that have happened over the years, I'd probably give it about an 8 out of 10. Either way, I don't know if I'm being too generous or maybe, being kind upon myself. But these Pokemon are absolutely my mind's eye version of the original game. If you'd have handed these to me as a child, as a 10, 11-year-old child, oh my God, I would have snapped your hands off. What's next? We've got a little bit of Wartortle, got a little bit of Squirtle, got a little bit of course, how could you forget Blastoise? So this frog-inspired video is going to be met by, what is Blastoise, Squirtle, and Wartortle, some kind of turtle Pokemon. So I'll start the video how I'll finish the video how I started it. Adios, guys. These Pokemon are hiding from you. Hopefully you can tell. Boom, here they are. Thanks all. Adios.